What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Sector for Nerds. I'm Ryan Brower, and holy crap, I have no idea what I just got done watching. Clone Wars this week was absolutely amazing. Everything between the visuals to the storyline, just the beginning of the episode, the end of it, everything was amazing. I know right now I'm outside again, but everyone in my household is working and stuff and on conference calls and stuff, so I just wanted to be able to get out and just, first of all, get some fresh air, but also to be able to talk to you guys about Star Wars and be able to raise my voice a bit and be able to get excited because there was so much in this episode to be excited about. If it gets to the point where it gets too windy out, then I can always just record another video because honestly, I could talk about this episode all day long. So let's start talking about it, shall we? So the beginning of the episode, guys, that intro, the Lucasfilm production thing, and then having Ahsoka's theme in there was amazing. And then we didn't get the normal Clone Wars intro from Kevin Kiner. We got the iconic opening theme to Star Wars, and I didn't tear up, but I was like, my eyes were getting a little watery, like, holy crap, they're making this feel like a movie. And then it was like part one, and then, the episode title. So, you know what, I have no problem with them switching it up, because I know there's probably gonna people be like, oh, well, you should have kept to the original Clone Wars intro and stuff, and you should have had the cookie there with the little message and stuff, but personally, I have no problem with it. So let's talk about this episode's opening, that amazing battle on whatever, I don't remember what the planet's name was, all I know is it wasn't Catan, so I got that wrong, and I was a little bit disappointed, but you know what, that's okay. Actually, no, even before that, let's talk about Tom Kane's intro, right? Like, what happened all in there? Let's talk about Grievous for a second. That was the best Grievous has looked in this entire series, and he was on screen for all of 2 seconds. That was amazing. Who else was there? Plo Koon was in his starfighter, presumably, and I think he was on Catan, because that's where he was when Order 66 happened. They showed Ayla on Felucia, which is where she was during Order 66. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. And then, so the episode, you get started with, like, Cody in trouble. Obi Wan saves him. Anakin comes in and is joking around, and I love it how the clones and Obi Wan are taking cover, and Anakin's like, oh, what are you talking about? It's only a couple thousand battle droids. I got this. Anakin surrenders himself to the droids and stuff, and it causes the super tactical droid to come out. Now, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, and I didn't either until I looked at the end credits, but the tactical droid was voiced by Donald Faison, who, for those who don't know, voiced Hype Faison in Star Wars Resistance, and he's also responsible for being at the Rebels Q&A, asking Dave Filoni, how soon can we expect the Sabine Wren Ahsoka Tano show? Anakin kills the tactical droid, out come 501st, and then Obi-Wan tells Cody, yes, you can join the party as well, Cody. And so then Anakin and Obi-Wan just stand there like, oh, look at that good work that I just did, Obi-Wan. And then he gets a transmission from Yularen saying that he's received a transmission from Fulcrum using that code name or whatever, which I was like, wait, what? And then they were like, oh, so it's Saw Gerrera. So that opens up some different possibilities as far as where the idea of Fulcrum came from, because obviously I thought that it was Ahsoka's idea, but if it was something that Saw Gerrera was using, I mean, I guess that would make sense considering, like, it is a rebel thing. But Obi-Wan and Anakin get back to the bridge, and they're like, all right, well, originally it was supposed to be Rex, so I was going to say, all right, Rex, what's so important that you brought us all the way back here? But they changed it up. It wasn't Rex, it was Yularen, and that's when they get in contact with Ahsoka and Bo-Katan, and Anakin's sitting there like, oh my gosh, it's Ahsoka and everything, and Ahsoka's kind of like rolling her eyes and stuff, and like, this is not what I wanted to be doing right now, because you could just kind of tell, like, Ahsoka didn't really have much interest in getting help from the Jedi, but I think she realized, like, in order for us to take Mandalore, we're gonna need their help. So then once they finally meet up, it's almost symbolic when Ahsoka walks down from the ramp of the ship, very reminiscent to when Anakin and Obi-Wan first met her in the Clone Wars movie. I thought there was a nice bit of symbolism there. And then obviously R2 runs over to her immediately because he's so happy to see her. And then Anakin tries to talk to her and stuff, and Ahsoka's like, it's gonna have to wait, because Ahsoka at this point is just all about getting the job done. She's not really, like, obviously it's good for her to see Anakin, but at the same time she also realizes, like, we gotta get this moving. Like, Maul's on Mandalore, we're not sure how long he's gonna be there. We have this opportunity, we can get him, but we gotta stick to the job at hand, right? So I liked that Ahsoka was determined to get this done, to go and capture Maul, to capture Sam Witwer. There's some nice dialogue between Obi-Wan, Anakin, Bo-Katan, and Ahsoka in this part. What's one more war gonna do duty? And then Anakin's like, well, we are in the middle of one right now, so kind of doesn't make sense to join your war. And then Bo-Katan has this amazing shot at Obi Wan where, she says, I thought my sister meant something to you. And I'm sitting there like, oh, snap. And Obi Wan's like, she does, and she always will. But at the same time, I'm not going to let my emotions cloud my judgment, which is a true Jedi moment. So the way that I look at this, it almost looks like Obi-Wan has kind of just like stopped caring about Maul, which I think it's easy to get that impression, but I'm not sure if that's entirely what's going on. I think he also realizes, like, yes, he wants to capture Maul, but he also realizes that Maul has gotten to him so many times and has sort of tested his resolve as a Jedi. So he's kind of almost being like, it's almost like he's trying to move on from Maul in a sense, but not completely. Like, obviously he still wants to be able to capture him and then, do whatever the Jedi were going to plan on doing to him. But yeah, so then Anakin and Ahsoka go down the hallway. That's the hallway scene and then into the hangar, which is something we saw at Celebration. It's something Dave told us about that moment where Ahsoka walks into that hangar. All the clones are waiting for her, You don't have to call me Commander anymore, Rex. Sure thing, Commander. And I'm like, yes. And then out comes the small box. And I knew right away what was going to be in that box. And Dave teased us, that little teaser Dave, right as she's about to open it, alarms go off. And it's like, wait, what? And Obi-Wan's like, we're being summoned to Coruscant. The city's been attacked. Grievous has invaded. And Anakin's like, well, what about the Chancellor? And Obi-Wan's like, Shakti went to go protect her, but Master Windu's lost contact. So kind of keeping like the micro series Clone Wars sort of, canon, even though I kind of always looked at it as canon anyway, but I'm glad that they've kind of stuck with that story because it is a good one. And Ahsoka is just sitting there like, wait, so that's it? Like, you're just gonna abandon Bo-Katan and her people just like that? And Obi-Wan's sitting there like, well, you have to understand, Ahsoka, like the Separatists are attacking the heart of the Republic, most likely using the Nexus route, by the way, is my assumption on how that worked. Yeah, and, Obi-Wan's sitting there like, this is a priority and stuff, like, the Coruscant needs us. And Ahsoka's like, no, the Chancellor needs you. And Obi-Wan's like, well, that's not a fair thing to say or whatever, but obviously Ahsoka and Obi-Wan kind of having different points of view and stuff. Ahsoka too talking about how that this is why the people have lost faith in the Jedi. Like, I've experienced it firsthand, and the only reason I came back is because I realized that there are people who need our help, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, which I think is a justified thing for her to do, because for a while, yeah, Ahsoka did stop caring about the Jedi, but then there was the whole thing with Trace and Rafa and Obadiah, which was referenced early on, and that explained how Bo-Katan and Ahsoka were able to track Maul is because of the information that Ahsoka got on Obadiah. And obviously Anakin wants to be able to help Ahsoka, so he's trying to figure out options like, well, what if I gave half of the 501st to Ahsoka? And Obi-Wan's like, well, that Ahsoka's no longer a military leader, that would be treason against the rules and stuff. And Anakin goes, well, what if we promote Rex to Commander? And I'm like, yes, please. And he's like, yes, let's promote Rex to Commander, and Ahsoka could be his advisor. And I'm like, I'm okay with this plan. Let's talk about Gar Saxon for a second. Holy crap, that was like, first of all, his armor is sick. It is exactly like the armor he wore in The Son of Dathomir, but now they finally were able to put it on screen, and it looks even more badass. Could you imagine if we would have had Son of Dathomir in Clone Wars, how like amazing it would have looked? Just, oh my gosh. It still does disappoint me that Disney only decided to do one more season, because there were so many missed opportunities. Ray Stevenson coming back to voice Gar Saxon, which is pretty cool. He voiced him in Star Wars Rebels. Elmick, too. Let's talk about him for a sec. Elmick trying to sit there playing all innocent stuff like, oh, what's the Republic doing here? And Bo-Katan's like, yeah, cut the bullcrap. We know what you're up to. We know you're Maul's puppet. And then he's like, you realize that by doing this, you're breaking a bunch of treaties and stuff, and you will be an enemy in the eyes of the people. And Bo-Katan's like, okay, I'm fine with that. And so I'm like, cool, Bo-Katan doesn't care. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's go capture Maul, right? Because that's the thing that we've been waiting to see. So one of the things that was cool about this episode is the fact that we get to see a lot of the different Mandalorian clan leaders in this, which is pretty cool. And I don't think it's something that maybe was going to be done originally, but I think because of Star Wars Rebels, it was great to put some of those little Easter eggs in there. For example, you had Ursa in there, obviously, because we had seen her before in the previous episodes, but this time Bo-Katan mentioned her by name. We had Gar Saxon, obviously, you know, as the leader of Clan Saxon. We also had Rook, not the Rook as in like Thrawn's assassin, but like the Mandalorian Rook, who was there at the end of that episode in Rebels where Bo-Katan was made leader. So yeah, I thought it was cool that they had like almost all of those Mandalorian leaders in that episode. The only ones that we didn't get were Elder and Fen Rao. I think besides that, everyone, like, I know Vizsla wasn't there, like Clan Vizsla, I don't know who would have represent them at the time, but I'm assuming like their side of the Mandos would have been with Maul, is my guess, but I'm not entirely sure. Some of them probably went to Clan Kreese and Bo-Katan as well. The Mandalorian structure, clan stuff can be kind of confusing at times. So then comes like the siege of Mandalore, and I'm surprised that they actually had that in this episode. Like, they had a full-out assault, like in the air, you know, Ahsoka getting off the gunship and start, you know, in the air just fighting off some of the Mandos and stuff. Just this massive aerial battle, all of the clone gunships, the Mandalorian gauntlet fighters descending down onto the planet was so amazing. Getting to see Ahsoka and the blue lightsabers, which are, you know, they're good as new, maybe a little better. You know, it made her look so awesome, and it, you know, she finally got to have her moment where she could stand out and be able to use all her force powers and abilities and be able to wield lightsabers, because that was something that we weren't able to get in the Ahsoka Walkabout arc. I loved how Ursa was the first Mandalorian on the platform. I love that they're kind of letting her stand out a bit and let her get some shine in Clone Wars, which is cool. And then Bo-Katan came in with her troops and stuff, and everyone just starts, you know, going into the city. There's Rex there. Ahsoka raced Rex down to the bottom, and then she says to Rex in almost like her 14-year-old girl voice, "Beat ya." And it made her sound like that 14-year-old little girl that would, you know, be able to have fun with Rex. They've always been close friends since, you know, Ahsoka came onto the scene. So Bo-Katan goes into the palace to go and find Almec, and Almec had some Mandalorian armor on too, which was pretty cool. But I will say though, like, one of the things I did question, I'm like, okay, how does this old man manage to fight? Like, this, it's not like it's Count Dooku, you know, where he has, you know, Sith powers and, you know, the dark side of the Force, path to abilities, yada yada yada. But yeah, like Gar Saxon, not Gar Saxon, because Gar Saxon can fight, and he proved that in this episode. No, but Prime Minister Almec, like, I'm surprised he was in Mandalorian armor and he was able to fight. I think Bo-Katan broke his ribs though. Like, they kept putting focus on Bo-Katan kicking him and punching him in the stomach. I'm pretty sure he has broken ribs now. He tells Bo-Katan, you know, hey, you fell right into our trap. We got you right where we want you. The only problem is you brought the wrong Jedi. And then that's when Bo-Katan realizes, crap, Ahsoka, it's a trap, get out. But then there's no transmissions. Ahsoka's in the tunnels trying to find Saxon, because I guess he went down there. And then they end up getting ambushed by Rook and her troops. And then they get cornered into a trap and all the clones get wiped out. One of the, I guess, leaders of that battalion got wiped out, and there was a nice moment between him and Ahsoka where he says, you know, sorry, Commander, and then he dies. Mandalorians come out and surround him. I'm like, okay, here we go. This is where it's gonna end. She's gonna get captured and stuff. And all of a sudden they cut to the fourth tunnel, and there's a shadow. You can see a shadowy figure walking toward him. I'm like, Dave, don't do this to me. Don't end like this. Don't end like this now. Now I don't want you to end it. And then you hear the tss, like every time Maul comes walking in, you hear that kind of noise. And so you knew right away, and you could tell by the figure, and he goes, I was hoping for Kenobi. Why are you here? And then the episode ends. I could talk about this episode all day because it was absolutely amazing. I loved having Maul in there at the end as like the icing on the cake and stuff. So now it looks like Ahsoka's going to be getting captured unless she attempts to fight the Maul off, but I doubt that's going to happen. So now obviously I think Rex and Bo-Katan are going to have to find her. This episode just all around was amazing. And I think it was like 25 minutes long, so it was a bit longer than normal. But it felt like a movie. It felt like the first act to a movie, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And I hope that going forward for the next like few weeks, we get that same, you know, Star Wars intro that we got in this episode with the Lucasfilm production, the Ahsoka music, and then the main theme. Like, that was awesome. I loved when they were descending down onto the planet, like they were playing, you know, iconic Star Wars music there and stuff from like Revenge of the Sith, and then they would mix it with like Ahsoka's theme. I love how they were mixing everything with Ahsoka's theme. Kevin Kiner is the man when it comes to that stuff. So yeah, I'm glad that Dave I'm sure Dave and Kevin probably had a bunch of talks about like what the music was going to sound like and stuff, and what Dave's vision for it was. And Kevin Kiner, just, you know, shout out to you, my friend, because you did awesome. Also, Vanessa Marshall voiced Rook in this episode. That was another thing I forgot to mention. So bringing Vanessa Marshall in to do some voices, that's pretty cool. Yeah, they had a lot of voice actors and actresses that I've known from like different shows and stuff, Star Wars related over the years. Like obviously having Vanessa in there, who used to, you know, voice Hera, Ray Stevenson voicing Gar Saxton, obviously from Rebels as well, and then obviously Donald Faison voicing the tactical droid at the beginning, had done some work in Star Wars Resistance as Hype Faison. So I think it's cool that Dave brought a lot of these, you know, people back to do voices for Clone Wars. That to me is absolutely awesome. And I love it that you have people like Gar Saxton and Ursa Wren in there, because it connects, it bridges Clone Wars and Rebels together. And I've said it before, I love it when my stories connect and intertwine. And I've always said too, it feels like Clone Wars and Rebels are almost connected with each other, like it's one big story. And I think this arc helps prove that, just because of how many characters that you've managed to bring in from Rebels. I don't know how long this video is going to turn out, but it's probably going to be a little bit longer, just because this is the kind of stuff that I love talking about. It's stuff like this why my channel exists, because I love talking about Clone Wars and I love talking about all this stuff. I'm so glad and grateful that they did bring Clone Wars back, because it's the arcs like this that I could talk about for hours on end. This episode was great. We still got 3 more. We got 3 more of these episodes to come. So I'm very curious to see what they're gonna do and where they're gonna go with this. But yeah, you know what, guys, I think I've rambled on enough now. That'll probably wrap us up here today. If you guys want to hear me talking more about the episode, I can always make another video if you guys really want me to. But let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this episode, because obviously I want to hear your guys' opinion as well. What did you guys think of this episode? What was your favorite moment? And make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like us on Facebook, and I will see you guys next time.